completed our first row of half double crochet. We've learned how to count that row and we're ready to move on to our second row now. But before we do that, that last stitch that we made in the first row, top of that V there, I want you to take a stitch marker and just mark that stitch. And that's going to help us to know where our row ends and begins. So to start, half double crochet is a bit taller stitch, and so we're going to chain 2 in order to bring our hook up to the height of the second row. Right, turn our work, and the difference with the taller stitches like half double crochet, the difference between them and a single crochet is that oftentimes that chain 2 counts as your first stitch. And so we don't actually work into that first. So you can see the 2 chains we made, the V's, 1 and 2, and that's your first stitch. Well, because we've already got a stitch, we're not going to work into that one. We're going to skip it and be working into that second V. So half double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, and draw through a loop. Got the 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, and draw through all 3 loops. So technically we now have 2 stitches, but I'm going to take that stitch marker off. I want you to just move it up as we go, because again that's going to help us to count our stitches with half double crochet. Okay, so I'm going to continue with the half double crochet in each stitch to the end. And it's the beginning and the end of the rows that can at times be confusing, but once you know what you're doing, it's just so easy. So there's that last V, but it's not the last stitch. We mark that. That's why we mark that one, so we know when we got to the end that that chain counts as a stitch. So we're going to need to work our last stitch into that chain. So I like to work through both loops of that chain, 2 of those loops. I find it gives it just a nice finish. Yarn over and draw through, 3 loops on our hook, yarn over and draw through all 3. So there's our row. Let's move that stitch marker up, mark that last stitch that we made, and count our stitches just to make sure that we have 8 there. So there's our first stitch with the chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And there you go. You now know how to work a half double crochet, and when you're comfortable with that, you're ready to move on to learning a double crochet.